everyone to stand up and they say hello. This is my team.
My name is Delphine Yonkuru. I am the lead engineer for the Bujumbura Green City Project. Yes, I'm gonna talk briefly where we are in the project and some of the steps we've been taking to basically get to where we actually want to get as far as this project is concerned. All right, so I know for a lot of you guys who haven't really been part of this project, don't really know exactly what the Bujumbura Green City Project is, or you've actually heard about it, from either Jean-Marie or some of our partners. So basically the Green City Project is a forward-thinking residential development as well as a commercial city that we're going to be bringing about here. And as we do that, some of our forward thinking that we're actually putting forth is making sure that we're thinking about the ecosystem and how we can actually recycle what we actually have so that we're not just using it and wasting it, right? So the project is going to be taking place in Kizingwe, which it's towards Kanyosha, going towards Rumonge. It's close to the shores of Tanganyika. It's in this area over here that you guys see over here. And in the beginning, we had the project divided in 3 sections, which the first time we were thinking about just doing the residential city in this blue area over here and doing the commercial city in the red zone over here. And that was because we were still trying to see if we can actually acquire this zone over here. But by the grace of God, we kind of get the green light to basically go ahead and start working. And so overall, the project will cover 50 hectares. Is that how you say it in English? 70. So the 50 will be for the residential area, and the 20 will be where the commercial zone or city will actually take place. And this is what the actual map of the city is going to basically kind of look like. So we'll have all the residential areas. We'll have the commercial area basically take place on this other side over here. So as you guys can see over here, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be brought up as far as the commercial city. We have preschools and primary schools, a preschool and a primary school, just singular one. We have a secondary school, just a high school. We have a hospital and a university. We have labs and medicine warehouses. We have a mall, which a lot of us are very excited for. The GENIECO will also have a bank over there, the assurance offices, and exhibition center and the convention center. And as far as the residential city, we have 5 different type of residential homes that are going to be building, dividing, 5 systems. We have Villa 1, 2, 3. We have also townhomes as well as apartments. So I'm just gonna fly through these. I know some of you guys have already seen this, so that way you see exactly what these are. As far as the Villa type 1, it's going to be our very top one that, it's going to be, very modest. It's going to be a luxurious house that can basically host, government officials, guests are coming for the government, things like that. And so this is what it's basically going to look like. I'm just going to fly through these as I speak about the specifications that are going to have in the Villa Type 1. So this is the Villa Type 1. It's going to have 3 floors, 8 bedrooms. It's going to have a swimming pool, private offices. We'll also have a chef's suite outside, and we'll also have a garage that's going to be built in going to be built into the house as well, which is very uncommon over here. All right. And as we built this, we thought about security and ways to make sure that our houses are not going to just be vandalized. So we're going to have a security box. The houses will also have cameras. It will have access to be able to add cameras to the houses as well. We have, like I said, I've already said we have a swimming pool outside. So we have changing rooms outside that goes right next to the swimming pools. We have and like a pool house as well, or gym, depending on what the needs are for whoever that's going to be living over here. And also, like I said, since we're thinking about ways we can actually, since we're thinking about the ecosystem as well, we're going to have the solars, ours are going to have to be solar ready, and we're going to actually also have the waste and water recycling throughout it's not just going to be just for this house, it's going to be throughout the whole city as well. All right, and we also have a villa type one, the same one, but that's going to be an extra top notch. Basically, it's going to call this one a VIP. It's going to have a pool on top of the house. This one is also going to have a basement and a recreational, basically, center underneath the house. So this is, like I said, if the other one's going to be for government officials or rich people who want to be able to acquire it. But like I said, since we are thinking about the ecosystem and also thinking about our people over here, we know that some of us who don't actually live over here, we have friends and families and people who want to come and visit, who wants to come and do vacation over here. So these houses are going to be ready for them. So these are going to be just 30% of just these houses, and so they're going to be ready to be able to accommodate for those people as well. All right. For the villa type 2, it's going to be basically almost kind of the same. They also have pools. The difference in these are basically going to be in sizes and size of land and size of the house as well. All right. They're also going to have, so this is going to have 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, chef suite outside, and a kitchen as well, inside as well. Double car garage, all of that. Swimming pool outside, like I said, sauna, changing rooms, and pool house. All right, and this is the villa type 3. Like I said, again, the differences in these are just going to be in sizes and just how big and small the houses are. So this, for instance, this is only going to be 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, but it's going to have everything else that the other ones also have. All right. Now the townhomes. This is one of the ones that I'm actually very excited for, because we don't actually have, can't say that we actually have like townhomes in Burundi, but these are going to be providing everything else that the other ones have. Again, like I said, just resizing them to be smaller so that way we can actually host a lot more people, giving opportunity for people who aren't actually able to afford the other 3 to be able to afford a home and be able to have a place to live. All right. All right. And the other one is the apartments, which we have 2 kind of apartments. We have one that's going to just be for 3 and 2 bedrooms, because again, we're thinking about just people who aren't actually able to get into these bigger homes, because again, bigger homes means more money. So we have the apartments that are going to be for smaller families. Again, these apartments are going to be luxurious. They're going to have pools, either be inside or outside. They're going to have gyms, recreation rooms. So everything that we're actually doing over here is just making sure that we're not just doing things and be like, oh, you can't afford it, so therefore you're not going to be able to get all these amenities. So we're putting all these together so that way, even if you're not able to afford the top houses, you're actually going to be able to get something that you can actually be proud of. Right? We also have, like I said, we have 2 types of them. The other one is going to have 4 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, all the way down to 1. Like I said, we're thinking about just being able to accommodate everybody. So if you can afford the bigger house, Even if you have a bigger family, you're going to be able to get an apartment or be able to buy it or be able to rent it, so that way you have somewhere to live with your families. And we also thought about people who actually don't have any bigger families, because we have a lot of young adults over here who don't actually have anywhere to sleep or stay, if you can afford it. So the one bedrooms are going to be for those young adults or those professionals who just want to be able to live by themselves. All right. So I think this is about it on that side. And so as we're thinking about all these, we thought about ways we can actually just, we can build it and not just replicate what we actually have over here, right? Because one of the things that I realized as we got here is because I don't want to say the government, but because how people build over here, they want to maximize everything that they have. They usually end up eating too much into the street. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about in this project is making sure that we have space, so that way people can actually live freely and breathe. And one of those things one of the ways we actually did this is we conserved about 30% of each land to be just green space. All right, so whether it be in front of the house, inside of the or outside in the lot, outside the house. So we try to make sure that we have at least 30% of green space to be able to give back to the community, because again, we know trees brings oxygen and all of that, right? So we thought about that, and we try to prioritize making sure that we have at least 30% of green space to be able to breathe better, all right? And another thing that, like I said, that I've been actually working more on right now is thinking about how we want the streets, the outside of the houses actually looks like. All right, because it's easy to just be like, okay, my house is good once you get inside, but once you get outside, all of a sudden it's chaos. So one of the things that I'm actually kind of working right now is making sure we not just thinking about the streets themselves, but how pedestrians can actually walk safely, can basically get by without fearing that you're gonna get run over by a car. So one of the things that I've been kind of basically looking into are these intersections and sidewalks and all these other stuff that we're going to be including into this. So this is one of the research that I've been also doing, and one of the ones that I'm actually kind of passionate about also bringing in Burundi is going to be these raised intersections, because again, we don't actually have these. We have a lot of speed bumps basically everywhere, and I feel like this is going to minimize risk of accidents, especially with cars. All right. Now, as I was thinking about the streets and how we're actually going to be built in them, we know that streets are not just simply streets, especially if you don't actually live here. Streets usually have a lot of stuff underneath them, which basically brought me to basically this system where you have to think about everything, because streets brings all the houses together, it brings the community together. And it's not just by cars or by getting you from point A to point B, but if you're thinking about the ecosystem, bring the water, the waste, and everything else into out of the house and to wherever it needs to go, right? The way the system usually is here, a lot of the times, a lot of like liquid waste or waste from like shower and all of that, or the kitchen, usually is dumped into the street. And one of the things that we're trying to do is minimize that right there. So I've been working a lot with Jenny Echo, with doing a lot of research and some of the other experts, and finding ways we can actually collect all of that, finding a safer and what's the word that I'm actually looking for? A safer route to basically transport all these, and making sure that one, we don't have any leakage, two, we don't have any accidents, and three, we're thinking about the ecosystem. Like, for example, shower or water from the showers, not just dumping that into the lake, because that's not good for the environment. Thinking about how we're going to actually treat the water and all of that, right? One of the things that we don't actually have here in Burundi is a sewage system. We have a lot of drainage ways that kind of gets the water through, right? And one of the things that I'm actually trying to do is, instead of just building drainage paths on the side of the street, because again, we're trying to maximize as well as much as we're trying to make sure that we're doing things that are innovative, we're thinking about how we can actually build all of this into the space that we actually have. All right. So one of the ways we're actually kind of doing that is by building these drainage ways that's going to be taking the water waste, drainage waste, that's going to be taking, so the rainwater, water waste, solid and liquid waste. And also, because again, we have a lot of space, there's going to be ways that we're going to be passing through the electricity and the water that's going to also be coming into the house as well. All right, so talked a lot about the ecosystem and rainwater, right? So one of the things that, like I said, was, let's kind of go back a little bit over here, is like for example, the stormwater harvesting. That's one of the things that I've worked a lot with Jenny Echo in trying to find ways we can actually do this. Again, we get a lot of rain in Burundi. You guys have already seen it. It's been raining pretty much the whole day. And finding a way to actually recycle the water so that way we're actually able to reuse it. It's very important and dear to our hearts, right? And so water harvesting system, we've been talking about that and finding ways we can actually, treat the water safely and obviously making sure that we're not actually spending so much in trying to do this, right? The underground drainage, I've already talked about that. The trash collection, I'm also going to talk about that in a second. And the recycling, basically all this kind of ties into the recycling innovation that we are been talking about. All right, so one of the ways, like I said, the rainwater, one of the other ways we've been kind of thinking about is, I've already said about taking about 30% of our land, right, and making sure that it's green space. One thing that I've been also kind of looking into is finding ways we can actually not just have the green space and the rain falls and it just goes away, finding ways we can actually recuperate that water that falls into that space and finding ways we can actually recycle it, right? I've already talked about ways we can actually utilize the underground area. And this is one of the other things that we actually kind of been thinking about, right? So not just the drainage system or the sewage system, but also the rainwater and finding ways and safer ways we can actually kind of get it to where we need it to actually go, which is basically kind of like another way, not just the underground, but like parking, right? Like in front of your house, because again, it gets a lot of rain. Can we actually save that water and use it? Why not, if we can, right? All right, and I know one of the issues that we have here, like I said, we have these drainage paths, and one of the issues if you actually walk around is it usually ends up getting a lot of waste, a lot of plastic waste, a lot of waste that just kind of falls into it. And I know a lot of people already asked me too, what if things falls into it? How are you going to actually be able to save that or make sure that this doesn't actually end up into the water recollection area, right? So one of the things that I've actually kind of looked into, it's more about just kind of finding ways we can actually make sure that we are, cleaning the water as we go, right? So this is one of the systems I've been looking into. This is the other one. And also this kind of goes into like ways we can actually kind of clean and sweep. So this is stuff that I've been kind of looking into, like can people just sweep and throw that in there, or how can that actually go? So there's been a lot of studies that I've been doing that goes into just this right here. And again, as we work, some of my team and members and some of the stuff I've been doing and working on, and yeah, so everybody kind of have different things that they've had focuses on. All right, and like I said, I've already talked more about the water a lot, right? So water, waste. So the waste will have basically a waste center, right? That's going to have all this collection that all the waste, so solid waste that's going to be going to, and the center we're actually going to be using that to basically refine the waste, so that way we can use it later for other projects, as well as the solid waste as well. And as far as the rainwater, this is one of the other projects that I've kind of like been looking more into, is instead of just finding it and going and dumping it somewhere, right? Like I said, we want to recycle the water. We want to be able to reuse this. Some of the project that I'm proposing is, again, because I talked about using about 30% of the environment that we have, of the space that we have, to be able to make it, to be able to basically have it be green, right? So this is one of the projects that I've actually proposed. This will be our water waste treatment center, right, for example, and like on top of it, because it's just an empty, basically, house or center, we'll be able to find ways we can actually have like a green park on top of it. So again, maximizing our green spaces, so that way we're actually doing things, so that way we're actually giving back to the community as well. All right. So again, the idea was just kind of finding a park and stuff like that, and be able to put it on top of a house so that way people can lounge and hang out up there, but also the underground of the house, treating the water and giving back to the environment. All right. And the last part of the project, or last issue that we are facing currently right now, is on each side of the land that we have these huge riverbanks erosion. These are actually photos from the actual space itself. And as you guys know, as it rains, the erosions usually only gets better. Gets bigger, right? So one of the biggest issues that we are basically studying right now is finding ways we can actually fix that issue. One, filling it, and not just filling it, but also making sure that we protect it so that it doesn't actually get any bigger. For instance, some of the studies that I'm also doing is finding ways we can actually put stuff over there. And the last thing, because the actual goal for this is to be able to use that space and put stuff in that area, right? So again, like this would be the idea, is building, making sure that the erosion doesn't actually get any bigger, because again, the one side of it actually has a river that flows, the other one is just a riverbank path. Doesn't usually gets dry during the summer, but during the rainy season, it gets a lot of rains because the rain comes through from the mountains. All right. So again, the idea is to have something like this, so that way we can actually have, stuff that we can actually put over there. A park, house, museum, something. Because again, it's a space that we can actually maximize and find ways we can actually utilize. Right. So again, like I said, this is a project that has a lot of steps to it, right? It's not just the residential homes, it's not just the commercial city, it's everything else that's encompassed into it, right? So we are, one of the goals, like I said, and I've repeated multiple times, is making sure that we maximize the space, but also making sure that we keep in mind and making sure that we're actually keeping 30% for the green spaces, all right? And the other thing that we're actually keeping in mind and making sure that we are working towards and, enhancing as we go, is finding ways we can recycle with everything that we have. Thank you very much.
And if I look at the traffic from the after downtown to the new downtown, I think that would be a lot of traffic. Have you thought about how when we saw that traffic?
Yes. So that was actually one thing that I didn't actually get a chance to add onto my PowerPoint. We are also working on building a highway, right? Just what we call here a flyover, which will go from where we are in Kizingwe, that will go all the way towards the city downtown, right? So that way, one, we're not creating more traffic because we're going to have a lot of flow of traffic over there, and two, so that way people who actually wants to come directly over there can actually escape all that traffic and go straight to Kizingwe. All right. And so again, that's also one of the biggest things that we're actually looking, one, the space, and two, making sure that it's safe, because again, flyovers or highways are not usually necessarily easy to build or safe if you don't actually do it right. So we're doing a lot of studies and a lot of research to make sure that we do that correctly.
His project is so exciting.
Mhm.
I had seen, and I can begin to put into conflict together, but one of the ways that they work on installing a public transportation in areas that are already quite filled up, is to do almost like a tram way. So it would be, you can do credit posts along your route, and people get plug into their car and just doing service.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll have like bus stations. Like I said, we'll have bus stations where people can actually wait for the buses exactly right there. But along the way as you go, not just here, because that's how the bus actually works over here. Along the way as you go, people will be able to get off wherever they actually get. But we'll actually have bus stations so that way we can build a shade. If it rains, if there's too much sun, people can actually wait over there. Yeah.
Is this literally when you get into a pod, if you will, and the pod goes up and over and bypasses all of the just
Yeah.
going back into
Yeah.
yeah, and that way we could have people who are commuting to work
Mhm.
now having to drive
Yeah.
all the traffic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's one of the projects that I know that in the beginning came up, right? Again, but because we still working on certain, doing certain research and focusing on more, exactly. But that's one of the projects that we obviously, because again, we are building a highway. I don't know why now we actually have a bus that actually goes exactly right on top of that. That takes people, or tram that actually takes people straight over there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, please.
So, as thinking about climate smart infrastructure, it and the rain harvesting is the perfect way to work on Durchan. We're seeing more stronger downpours with climate change. So it's literally like rain that you might get over a month coming down in 3 minutes. Yeah. And so what do you do to infrastructure that just tears things apart? And so having the roads within the city that are there's some neat options, and I don't know if this will work given the loads thing we're on the roads, but they could put kind of like pavers and that also have dirt and you could figure out what kind of green on top there that help absorb the rain as they're coming in so that so that the storm drains and that system don't get overwhelmed. And that I think planning that now is like a very smart thing to do for
Is it one of the ways it's one of the things that I got pushed on. I'm like, okay, just in then let's think about strictly. I'm being about ways to actually think about them quick and actually get an open one, right? So one of the things we should do right now is doing research on how much water we gain on average. So that way, as we feel these things on, we make sure that we're building enough them that can actually share it.
Yeah, but this is literally where you would get into a pod, if you will, and the pod goes up and over and bypasses all of the traffic, going back into Bujumbura. And that way you could have people who are commuting to work without having to drive all the traffic, and it would be more environmentally sensitive and less expensive for people to go to work.
Oh yeah, that's one of the projects that I know that in the beginning came up, right? Again, but because we still working on certain, doing certain research
that would
and
be
focusing
future.
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's one of the projects that we obviously, because again, we're building a highway. I don't know why now we actually have a bus station because it's exactly right on top of that. That takes people, or tram that actually takes people straight over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask a few more questions?
Yes, please.
So, as thinking about climate smart infrastructure, and the rain harvesting is the perfect way to work on doing that.
Yeah.
We're going to see more stronger downpours with climate changing, and so it's literally like rain that you might get over a month coming down in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And so what do you do to infrastructure that just tears things apart? And so having the roads within the city that are there's some neat options, and I don't know if this will work given the loads that are going on the roads, but you can put kind of like pavers and that mostly have dirt, and you can figure out what kind of green you'd like to have there that help absorb the rain as it's coming in, so that so that the storm drains and that system don't get overwhelmed. And that, I think planning that now is like a very smart thing to do for.
So like I said, one of the ways, and it's one of the things that I push down, like, okay, listen, let's think about this real quick. I've been about ways to actually think about when we actually get a lot of water, right? So one of the things that we're actually doing right now is doing a research on how much water we gave on average. So that way, as we build these dams, one, we're making sure that we're building enough dam that can actually carry the water, right? And two, as we're doing that, one of the things that which I've also kind of showed some with my team is building an overflow. So that way, if we get even more water
Yes.
that can actually flow back into the city, right?
Yes.
And like I said, even through the green system that we have, we're thinking about what type of trees we're actually going to be planting there. Because again, certain trees not only help absorb water, certain trees also
Yes.
helps recycle
Yes.
and clean water,
Mhm.
right? So that's the things we're actually kind of doing. I had it part of my slideshow here. Quickly, see if I can kind of get to it. This right here.
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
okay, there it is. So, not just the vegetation, the green space,
Mhm.
but also like thinking about like even just the pavement or like the
Exactly.
parking, right? So if we get a lot more water, how can we actually get that water out instead of actually just letting it
Down.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So these are different ways, like I said. So that's more for the green. This is more just for like the other spaces like around the
Yeah.
house. So that way the house doesn't actually. That's it.
And I think a hybrid option would be
Yeah.
really interesting where you're mixing both.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so excited to contribute to working on this if possible.
Yeah.
So I noticed that there's lots of open spaces that look like they are a grass.
Mhm.
Is that what you're planning for the open spaces?
So for the open spaces, on top of just having the parks or
Like, yeah, that's what I
like
was.
this area right here.
Mhm.
So this would be more like a park area.
Okay.
Right? So these are just showing basically the idea behind this idea right here. So just
Mhm.
combining like people can sit and just the green space, but putting it together so that way people can basically lounge and sit around like it's more like a park where people can
Yeah.
actually sit.
I was wondering, so there are some neat innovations for that, like grass contributes nothing to whether it's pollinators or helping with infiltration or food gardens.
Yeah.
So I think it would be really interesting to say, I mean, you need to have these open spaces,
Mhm.
but to move away and be a leader in getting away from grass.
Grass, okay.
Because it simply becomes a cost center for
Mhm.
taking care of it, for needing more chemicals. I've worked with someone in Tanzania who has done edible gardens where you can plant different, for the open space, you might look at something that helps pull down carbon and helps absorb the water,
Yeah.
but it's still something you can walk on. But edible gardens are forests, are literally like you plant trees along with different plants that you could harvest fruit from, and you create this biodiverse
Yeah.
system. And he's actually done edible playgrounds. So that I didn't see a playground in there. You might need a playground.
Oh yeah, no, we actually definitely have those. Like
Yeah.
I said, we have parks, like in the residential areas,
Mhm.
right? And this is one of the ways that I'm kind of like thinking about this, not just wasting the space.
Yeah.
Right? But on top of that, we'll have playgrounds. We'll have like boutiques, because
Yeah.
here we utilize boutiques a lot.
Yeah.
Right? So boutiques or just little shops that people can actually kind of go to. Because again, in this city that we'll have about 3,000 people.
Mhm.
We consider about 3,000 people. I mean, 3,000 houses, homes.
Yes.
Right. And on average, looking at the average family in Burundi, that would basically house about 18,000 people.
Wow.
Right. So that's a lot of people that
That
will
is.
be housed in this area.
Mhm.
And so because of that, obviously we're going to have parks where we want to make sure that we have like boutiques, like
Yes.
an apartment.
Yes.
The apartments are going to have around 9 to 10 floors,
Mhm.
right? So thinking that people are going to be in the homes, and have everything that they need right there would be,
Yeah.
that would be a mistake, right? So we'll have boutiques around those areas that are going to be dense,
Mhm.
densely populated. We're going to have shops and things like that, but of course, I want to make sure that a lot of stuff that we have, we're going to have green spaces around them. So we're going to have parks. We want to have bike trails so people
Yeah,
can walk
that's
and
wonderful.
exercise as well. And one of the things that I can actually say is in the river dam, the dam that we're going to actually build for the erosion,
Mhm.
right? I want to put like a bike lane there, so that way that will end up being the overflow, so that way we can
Absolutely.
exercise and it's not just wasted space.
That's great. For the I guess I want to call them bulkheads for some reason, that you're going to put along the erosion. The biochar that we are going to be making is an excellent material to put along, to maybe mix in with the rocks, and it cleans the water as well. So that's something that you could look into for the drainage. I want to commend you on the 30% green. That is a wonderful thing to be factoring in, and maybe even a little more would be. I love that you are addressing the desire to kind of take things right to the edge to maximize productivity. And oftentimes, the opposite of what you think ends up being the better answer. And so what you are doing is, I think, providing the better answer towards productivity. It's been proven that having more green actually helps people be happier and more productive. And I think as we go into a world with climate, also, the more trees that you can put in there and the more green, the cooler it will be for people. And temperature is going to be a big issue. And maybe at some point we can plant greenery down the sides, and then greenhouses on the roofs, I think would be really neat. But I can't wait to work on this with you. I'm so impressed. Just
I have one thing too, when she brought up biochar, on the streets and the runoff, you know, there's a lot of oil and stuff in the tires and all that comes off. There is, we could also put together something where you have a filtration system there that can filter all that oil out before it gets back to the water system to take some, you know, energy intensive work off that as well.
And that can be cleaned by going back into the biochar
Yeah,
system.
and that biochar itself can be regenerated. So those filter materials can be used over and over and over for ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been literally looking more into like different ways we can actually do this, right? So, been doing a lot of research on this topic specifically. Because again, Jean knows how many times I'm home like, listen, we need to talk about this. You know, what's the best way to do this? Because again, I know he's an expert in a lot of
Everything?
Yeah. Ways that he has a lot of connections as well here. So, so the ways I'll be looking into that is not just having a drainage area or path, right? So like having all the water draining to the side, and again, like I said, having a green space over there, having like pressure, like you said, there so they can actually clean the water, right? Or having all of it basically drain into one system and passes through the biochar, so it can actually clean it as it passes through. So been doing a lot of more research and finding ways we can actually make sure that we do it correctly and safer, so that will be protecting our environment.
Yeah, and it's going to be a shining example for the rest of the world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely will be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very excited. Thank you for the honor of being able to work on this with you. I'm thrilled. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can answer the questions. Go ahead, David.
But I don't see the construction materials, especially the aggregates, the standard aggregates, not these ones that are found locally. I don't see people who have strategically placed themselves to start supplying us. How shall we go about it?
On some larger bioeconomy development plans with the leadership and communities in Burundi. And every one of those looks like a bit of a problem is actually an opportunity to grow a locally grown business here. Burundi has everything that it needs to build this city. And it is an opportunity to start building new economies. One of the things that we are working on is looking at how do you begin the starting to use Burundi's minerals and resources in mining in a sustainable manner. And so looking at where you could start to harvest some aggregates in a sustainable manner. Jean-Marie and I were just looking at Burundi's mineral content, and it's incredibly impressive. And it's an opportunity to do mining in a sustainable, respectful way to the mining employees, because that has not been done in the world ever, and Burundi could be the first. And so, yes, yeah. And so I think there's an opportunity to do it in tandem with other private businesses that are maybe active in the world and are bringing in the experience. And I'd love to see a crop of joint ventures, just like what we're doing, where we are having an equal exchange of knowledge, of talent. We're building something together. We learn from you, you learn from us, and we're equal partners. And so the capacity is transferred both ways. We learn local knowledge, which is priceless. You cannot pay for that. You cannot find it without working with people who are local. And then we are working on teaching you what we've learned, which is about different financial models and sort of the steps that go along to getting to an institutional grade investment. And so I'd love to see partnerships, and Jean-Marie identified this with the initial building company that you were looking at, where it's a partnership and the technology and knowledge is transferred. And that business is a Burundi business that goes on to build itself up not only in Burundi, but start to do exports to the East African region. So I think it's an opportunity to build businesses. Yeah. The other, and I'll stop talking, I could talk about this for days. It's my favorite thing. So I'll stop. But one of the other things that we're working on is a mycelium-based economy. And so mycelium is part of the fungi family, so mushrooms, and it grows in networks. And it is wonderful for pulling down carbon and bringing health to soils. If you're going to remediate soils and grow more vegetation, it speeds that process up. If there are contaminated lands, it can actually clean the land, and those chemicals don't go into the fruit. So you can not only clean land, but also produce something that people can eat. But the mycelium itself, the networks and mats, can be used to manufacture building materials and packaging materials that are low to carbon negative. They are fire resistant in many instances. They are lighter to use and move around, but as strong as a wood material or a stone material. And oftentimes, if we were to combine them with biochar, they keep the interior temperatures cooler. And that is something, and I know that the president has he is a fan of mushrooms, and that is something that we could work on to start growing in Burundi with the agricultural expertise that is everywhere. That is something that can be a manufacturing business right there. So working together with the private sector to invest together, I think is the way forward. And we're trying, I mean, we are honored to be at the front wave of that, and bringing in partners and helping to make connections with companies who are interested in investing in communities and being community members for the long haul. Yeah, so.
Yeah, thank you.